Okay, Mark Stoner, BioCrowd.
All right, thank you, Roger. Good morning, everybody. Let me get to the share.
We can see your screen.
Okay. All right, so BioCrowd, again, Mark Stoner, founder, CEO of BioCrowd, helping to find cures for diseases faster at a lower cost. So what we're building is we provide a Web3 marketplace for investing in IP rights and future cash flow royalties as an issuer using SEC compliant private securities. What that means, we're building out a fundraising platform, basically connecting early stage researchers, faculty coming out of academia, early stage companies like just presented with investors, and then using digital asset tokens as a funding mechanism also. So that means that we can connect to patient groups. They can basically become shareholders, patients, patient groups, and people along the way, working with universities and so forth. The use case, let's start with. So one use case is that, for example, and we're focused on rare diseases initially, and I'll go through why, pediatric cancers and so forth. But if you have a family with a sick child, for example, they can't find any solution treatment that's relevant, especially with rare diseases. Imagine if you could invest in your own cure, then you could help fund research to cure a genetic disease affecting you or your family, while also earning a potential return on your life-saving investment. So it could be a family. We help them spin up basically a micro fund to invest in that specific area, or we put them into a pool with other people, maybe 5 other researchers or other people working in that area to find a cure. And we can do that with using blockchain, digital asset tokens. And people ask, why do you need that? So it's global day one. It reduces costs, friction, and a much easier mechanism to connect all these different disparate groups. The problem of research funding, as kind of everybody on the call probably knows, is just the smartest global scientists spend over 50% of their career applying for competitive grants and still struggle to get funding. So it's high risk, early stage research. So most of the people go to NIH, SBIR grants and so forth to get that funding. That's also competitive and no guarantees with that. But that's the way everything's funded right now. You probably know the term Valley of Death, which means from grants to institutional funding. That is our target market, basically going after that market. And then we're not staying in positions for 10 years. Our model is really investing early on, kind of a Y Combinator accelerator model, build them, support them, and then we syndicate. We put in money, but we also connect them with grant writers. We syndicate kind of an angel list approach to start building traction, to building funding for that, and then support them with referrals to IP lawyers, people like Roger and so forth to advance it, and then to the value inflection point. And then on the other side, we're building relationships with big pharma. We talked to AbbVie Ventures last week, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, and others. So our solution, providing capital and resources to accelerate innovation in high impact and underserved areas in medical research. And again, as discussed, building a Web3 marketplace for investing in IP rights. As you know, everything in biotech's about the IP. So using the blockchain, the funding mechanism, we can fractionalize that. So if there's a scientist in India that applies for funding to us and they need someone else to work with, we connect them with somebody in the Bay Area, somebody in France, whatever, and then each can basically get a share by fractionalizing that using NFTs. I know NFTs is kind of a scary word for a lot of people. You're probably thinking Snoop Dogg. It's just a technology. So for the SEC, which is another obstacle we've kind of worked through for the securities issues, an NFT is not a security. If you fractionalize it, it is. But we've kind of worked through what the process is and the compliance and so forth. And then building a global community that democratizes how clinical research is funded and knowledge is shared. So pharma companies, they want to build a big monopoly. So one of the issues is not disclosing failed clinical trials. So might be 3 different companies working in the same area. If they don't disclose what the failures were, our model can do that. And then through decentralized science. And this is really the business model. Go-to-market solutions using a Netflix producer agreement model. So what that means is Netflix has all these different independent relationships with producers. We're following that model. We strike independent agreements basically with researchers, with universities, institutions to get either a cut of the IP. We can strictly do a revenue share model. So we have the flexibility, again, using the blockchain. Angel list, again, kind of the syndication model, putting in some money and then finding other investors. The GoFundMe model is the way we're starting right now. We just take a percentage of the raise, but this is how we can do micro funds with patient groups, with investors. So I saw Aubrey, there might be some crossover with her. And then the other thing about the GoFundMe model, build out product market fit, start to scale, and then bring in the blockchain, the tokens, et cetera, later on, just compliance. And, you know, the word crypto kind of scares people off still. The difference too with the token model is it's a 12-month lockup period. So there's not buying and selling short term. There's not trading. It's a 12-month lockup period. And then the Robinhood is just using a simple interface. I'll skim through these quickly. So market size, 433 billion. Serviceable addressable market, 1.4 billion. How it works: find funding faster. Researcher applies on our website with funding. Applicants are screened by our initially by our experts internally and our scientific experts. And we've got three MDs, 4 PhDs on our team. Qualified projects are moved forward with this. And then it goes to a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. That's the final funding mechanism. So it's community, people are participating, people vote on the projects themselves, and then they're allocating funding that goes to each individual project. And then we go through legal agreements, compliance, and so forth. How we exit deals. I talked about big pharma, basically keeping track of big pharma. You know, with Eli Lilly's focused on diabetes, a lot of other areas, Novartis, tropical diseases, kind of keeping track of those relationships and so forth. So if we're investing in research, so that's the researcher driven. If it's researcher driven coming to us for funding, that's how we approach this, versus family driven, patient driven. Traction and accomplishments. We're members of a group called National Digit Foundry. It was funded by the National Science Foundation, a $300,000 grant. Their focus is building around digital ledger technology, DLT, kind of all the security issues, the fraud issues, and so forth. The U.S. Treasury is involved, so we're a member of that organization. We're building out a decentralized science workflow or work group. And then I won't go through kind of all the bios that you don't know, but basically talked about, we've got MDs. Shahad Iqbal is a shareholder, senior position at BioCrowd or at Gilead. He worked at the CDC for 8 years. And then some of the other people, public health researchers, advisors, and so forth. And then I'll end it there to I'll leave some time for questions. And I'll put
Give a minute if anyone has a question.
I have a question for you, Mark, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this BioCrowd has a great idea. I love this idea. But the question is that are you seeking funding also? Did you solicit from the pharmaceutical companies like Novartis or other pharmaceutical companies to invest with you as a accelerator or an incubator that you are?
So two different sides. So for ourselves, and I, don't want to get into the securities issues as Roger cautioned me. So we did talk to Big Pharma, basically, yes, looking for a seed investment from them. Kind of their approach was very interesting, curious about this. They don't lead deals like this. Basically, we can be a feeder for them. And particularly, that's why we're focused on rare diseases, areas that they're not touching. And it just economically, with the tokens, the blockchain, we can squeeze out costs and so forth. So they're interested, but this is really outside the areas that they would typically focus or, be as far as a technology platform, blockchain. But they're interested in basically, I think, once we have more traction a little bit further, kind of go back to them.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much, Mark. We're a little bit out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and move along.